When I think of objects moving in space, Sarah, I don't think of actors. I think of standing next to my father in Italy at the age of 5, spinning a live rabbit in his right hand like a propeller before takeoff, and releasing it like a professional underhanded pitcher as it flies and zooms 10 feet to its death, splattering the unforgiving stone wall with blood and entrails. Always it had to be spun and be moving in space more than once to complete the job. When I think of objects moving in space, I think of death. I think of bodies falling from twin tower buildings, skeletal Jews dangling and thrown into mass graves from giant tractor trailers and shovels. I think of bullets from a barrel to a brain to an enemy to a president to a poet. When I think of objects moving in space, I think of words and wisdom like a spear to a target, to a mind, to an actor. I think of someone doing something to someone. I think of savage and cruel, killer and slaughtered. How the pleasure of pain in the doer out endures the feeling of pleasure. When I think of death, I think of the goateed ghost and the manicured and bleached soul unfit for this dirty business of acting. When I think of actors, I think of mainly everywhere but here, the actor-poet, actor-politician, actor-thinker. When I think of here, I think of actor as multicolored, multifunctional dildo for every fetish and style at scale. It's not easy, Sarah, for some people to delineate a type, a monotype, a stereotype, a topos, or a character. When a character is culture-based and not character-based, when the material itself is in question, like the one you've just sent me, when the culture is still wet behind the ears, which it is, and being trendy too often passes for originality, it's usually a clue, and direct communication between creators and actors is a must, the only way to go. Even then, it does not guarantee a thing. I mean, there's no value in playing an American game with an army of middle people when we're playing with monopoly money by comparison in an industry as fragile as the unhatched penguin egg. The script is the fragile egg one penguin hands to the other. People in Quebec generally know this and actually often operate this way. They consider direct contact with an actor normal, vital part of the creative process. This approach has produced a slew of quality projects that, in their DNA, reflect a genuine care for film and TV culture, my examples notwithstanding. Sometimes the gatekeepers and agents pay lip service to this question and concern, assuring the actor that, to the best of their knowledge and based on what they've been told, the role in question is not offensive, well-rounded, fun to play, and, hey, guess who's in it? Even the honest and well-intentioned will say, well, you know what, I think it's a Turk, Bosnian, Serb, Croatian type character. I mean, what's the difference? And when you tell them, oh, maybe 500,000 dead, they at least have the honesty and humility to say, I'm so shallow. It's simply difficult, Sarah, to have to confront and discuss what you sent me. I can't see the problem for you. I can only see it from where I stand, as you choose to ignore it from where you sit. The Italian North American type has so entered the collective Swiss bank accounts of cliches, joining the French maid and the English butler, that it makes serious discussion on originality and authenticity virtually impossible. And the parade, as Barzini points out, starts with the many cowardly and crafted killers in Elizabethan theater, the number of Italian traitors, cheats, pimps, spies, murderers in Nordic literature becomes practically endless from that time on, unquote. Even valiant efforts that were very successful can fool you. I mean, many theater people, including some Italian-American and Italian-Canadian actors, rave about the play, The Italian-American Reconciliation. I was offered to do the play a couple of times, turned it down each time. The writer's very good. He simply put his writing skills to lousy use in that play, as he did in a film that should have been struck by too many moons. Both works are products of fast food ersatz Italian-Americanisms, writing that imitates a facsimile of a facsimile of a facsimile. I mean, my great-grandfather moved to New York City in 1904. One of my aunts died in the Bronx at the age of 91. Joe Bonanno, who I met in 1998, died a couple of years ago at the age of 94. They, plus all the other Italian-Americans I've met in between, would not recognize any part of themselves in anything John Patrick Shanley writes on Italian-Americans, and not because they're old, senile, or dead. I've always wanted to discuss the play with the actor who originally played the role, an Italian-American. A Barton Fink a few times by people, I'm sure, as destiny would have it. Don't I meet him in New York one day? I mean, this guy is a wonderful actor, filmmaker, person. He always manages to do the right thing. And he's not Canadian, He doesn't think to himself with that frozen news anchor smile, you know, I'm not going to voice an opinion unless he voices his first. What if I voice my opinion, he doesn't voice his, and then he knows how I feel and what I'm thinking. I don't know anything about him. And then what do I do? Oh, my God, what do I do? Oh, the horror. No, he doesn't do that. He answered before I had the time to complete the question. I know, Tony. You know, I told him so many times, you know, he should write what he knows. Get in touch with your Irish roots and soul, I said. You know, but he has a thing for Italian Americans, Tony. He's in love with them. He loves everything Italian. I know, but he doesn't know. You know, I told him, I think he finally understands that he needs to write what he knows from his core. I think his next project deals with Irish roots, you know. I mean, did his answer surprise me? No. Those who can't see that good penmanship and bad writing can coexist surprise me. John Patrick Shanley has very good penmanship. Many talented writers have penned movies that were offensive to a specific group, yet praised by the critics and audiences all over. Spike Lee and Scorsese, not offensive, sorry. Even when they're extremely offensive, not offensive, they ring true. Even when their characters say and do the most horrible things, they ring so true. You forget the culture and the skin color of the characters and can see aspects of all human beings reflected in their lives and contradictions. Lee and Scorsese create masks that reveal, not conceal. And if you've lived in New York, walk the streets, talk to the people they both write about, you know they're hitting the mark most of the time. Example, I'm at a subway station in Flushing, Queens. I strike up a conversation with an Italian American who runs a flower shop in the station. Once we warm up to each other, which didn't take long, and once I had decided that I had a friend in that station, if I ever needed one who may even risk his life to save mine, all because we shared a culture. He tells me this, Tony, you see the guy over there? It was a Spanish American. I mean, 10 years ago, I could do anything to the fucking guy. I could hit him, spit on him, fucking kill the fucking guy. No one would have said anything, Tony. Could cut him to fucking pieces. People would have fucking looked the other way. Today, can't even fucking touch the guy, Tony. You understand? You believe that, Tony? You see what we're coming to in this fucking America? Or my friend, Gaetano, that well-dressed restaurant owner in the Upper East Side who made a mean walnut linguine. Hey, Tony, you read that shit? I was reading the New York Times. I mean, Tony, it's all fucking Jews. Look, I'm not saying the guy was right. You know, he went insane over there in Germany. Whatever the fuck happened to him, I don't know. He went beyond, okay? I mean, he exaggerated a little. But don't fucking tell me, Tony, there weren't precise, legitimate reasons for what the fuck he did. You understand me, Tony? I agreed, okay? He exaggerated. But you know, That's right. This on 2nd and 82nd. 2nd Avenue. Where not too long ago, a 10 or a 12-year-old Bernard Schwartz, Tony Curtis, and his Jewish buddies hung out on rooftops and threw stink bombs and Molotov cocktails on the Germans below who goose-stepped in unison up and down the avenue. Spike Lee and Scorsese characters are at times embarrassingly real. The creators don't view the operation from a comfortable seat behind a thick glass window. They've got their hands in the entrails of the characters and therefore, like Fellini, report on what humanity is from an individual and profound point of view, one they're willing to live and die by most of the time. Shit. Vibrator, sorry. Excuse me. Hello? Who? Oh, salut. T'as pensé à moi toute la journée? Comment ça? Oh, yeah, no, that's not the time to talk about it. What do you mean what goes around comes around? You know, yeah, was that not clear in the letter? Oh, I see. Yeah, but this time it's an Italian doing it to others. I see. Well, I do mention that in the letter. Well, no, we don't know if he used those words. You know, that's what the press says. I never knew that the world has so many lip readers. You know, both players maintain no racist slurs were slung. I mean, who gets to define what a provocation is or an appropriate reaction? Who? Well, if the true guilty party is the one who provokes, where does that take us? That's right. I mean, Hitler was apparently provoked by abusive parents and an Austrian teacher, an art teacher, and his headbutt was 6 million. Is that it? I know, well, it's interesting that the mother and sister came up and yeah, but not the daughter. No, I don't think Zidane's mother read my letter or Johnny's response. Her words lunged from a tongue they knew too well. Well, she said she wanted to chop off Materazzi's balls. She did. His mother, not me. Yeah, I know. I wrote Johnny's response a year ago. So what? No, I did not post my letter or Johnny's response all over the internet. Absolutely not. Unless someone I trusted did, but not me. Zidane had other choices. The Globe got it right. He lost it. Le Bleu saw red. And Materazzi could be a noodle, a falafel, or a souvlaki for all I care. And if he said something, he should too pay. He should pay for it if he did. Come on. There was a buffet of racism during the last World Cup. Come on. And the German press had the best slugging average. But it seems the Canadian press had a severe case of constipation during most of it. Suddenly, with the headbutt, the Canadian press develops a bad case of diarrhea and decides to collectively dump on Materazzi. What do you mean it's going to affect my letter? Oh, I see. It's going to weaken the argument. Right, okay. Well, I was just about to get into it.
Oh, yeah, no, that I'll be hearing from the other ghosts, yeah, that I'm dipping with the scene. That's right, not sustaining the drama or the comedy. I know, but there seems to be less and less comedy in this right now. Yeah, I can't make everyone happy. No, of course not. Yeah, look, I gotta go, okay? You're provoking me. Is there anybody beside you who can give you a headbutt? I gotta go, bye. Sarah. Sarah! Wake up. Run to Goalie. You know, Sarah, the writers, I'm sure, believe they have written a character, not a type, in Johnny. But they try a little too hard to sound gritty and edgy and au courant at the expense of story and characters. They're trying to sound like someone who really knows, real-life characters like Johnny. But ultimately, we feel the writer's trying more than the story or characters. We feel the writer's degree of trying more than anything else. And like, with most Canadian drama, we're supposed to what? Applaud the effort? I mean, it looks like a Canuck, it feels like a Canuck, it smells like one, hey, tastes like one. You know what? I think this deserves a Genie, a Gemini, or whatever, even if it reads or plays like a difficult bowel movement. I mean, it's one thing to know characters like Johnny in life, to have met them, even to sleep with them. It's quite another to put them down on paper, even for writers of Italian background. Making fun of a character is one thing. I'm all for it. I do it all the fucking time. But when you're making fun of a character or culture by default without knowing it and actually think you're being serious and sincere, there is a problem. I mean, the Grinch's heart grows 3 times in size by the end, but the Grinch doesn't develop a taste for garlic by the end, nor does he acknowledge that garlic is actually good for you, was always good for you, and that all along his soul was healthier than most people's. By the end, anyone with garlic in their soul is still a bad Grinch. So it's totally legitimate to call the humanist writer brilliant and an idiot at the same time for being a racist in this case. The times he wrote in don't excuse his bigotry, but only confirm it. Incidentally, one doesn't have to be of Italian background to write characters like Johnny. The opposite is also true. One of the best all-American movies ever made in America was actually made by an immigrant from Sicily, the one most people watch during the holiday season. It's a Wonderful Life, a fable. In fact, it's also one of the best immigrant movies ever made in America. When first released, It's a Wonderful Life was considered too depressing a film, not appropriate for the holiday season. Within a few months, the film was out of sight, out of mind, until the 1970s, when a technical oversight made it public property and people rediscovered the film. Why does it last, Sarah? Why? That each of us, no matter how apparently insignificant, has the power to make a difference, and that the measure of our humanity has nothing to do with fame or money, but with how we live our life on a day-to-day basis. That the angel, Clarence, prevents the hero of the film, George, from committing suicide by jumping off the bridge first so George could save him, and that George finally realizes that life is always worth living thanks to having experienced never having been born, is a story only an immigrant like Frank Capra, with no home under his feet and a father who died tragically and way too early, could have made. And though 9 writers tackled the film, 9 writers, including Clifford Odets, Capra, the director, had the major hand in the writing. I mean, it helps to know a few things here and there about the culture a character stems from to give it color, yes, but the essence of a character must be steeped in human experience and understanding, regardless of cultural background and whether the writer is part of that culture. As long as we feel the writer is trying to understand the character and himself through the story, no problem. If we feel the writer is judging the character directly or unconsciously, there is a problem. If the writer places himself above the character, the reader, let alone the actor, won't be able to get into his heart, and ultimately, neither will the audience. That's Johnny. That's him. He reads like, well, the way he reads. Not the way the writers would like him to read, I'm sure, or think he reads. Culture-based characters read and taste skin deep. A Starbucks flavor of the month latte-type character. Latte, not milk, not coffee, somewhere in between. It's the fake, offered over and over again, that gradually becomes the real, the one and only thing. Johnny is also caked up, artificially watered down from birth by the writer. His DNA doesn't suggest he's any deeper in the writer's mind than he is on paper. For whose sake? For who? The audience? I think not. They've been exposed to stuff. For who? The network? Who'd wish someone could write some corner gas sopranos crossbreed? The foundation for Johnny's character is built and relies on negative Italian male stereotypical perceptions. And any opposite quality to Johnny's character, if any, in these and later scripts, is and will be an inorganic attempt to offer balance. Very Canadian, balance. Both extremes are superficial. Again, we see the writer's effort. Johnny's character, as is, says less about Johnny or Italian Canadians than it does about Graham Manson and Christopher Bolton, the writers. You know, Stephen King in his book On Writing believes that all characters reflect in one way or another aspects of the writer's personality, concerns, and views. I agree. I've never read a Stephen King novel, by the way, in my life, only his book On Writing, which includes an account of his near-fatal accident with a bus. King maintains that the essential question, why am I writing this story and about these characters, is perhaps not asked often or seriously enough. I agree. And I don't think his comment can be dismissed because he writes novels and not screenplays. King explored himself and his view of the world and the people who live in it through character and story. Capra apparently put more of himself on screen in It's a Wonderful Life than in any other film. The film was his personal vision from beginning to end. It was the picture he waited his whole life to make, according to his son. So who is Johnny, according to the writers? Well, it seems that in trying to outdo the Americans who have invented a lexicon of Italian Americanisms to complement a short list of types, say a couple, Manson and Bolton have created a character, Johnny, who is able or has the potential to smell his daughter's pussy on a man's body. Wow, it's in the script. That's at least the character Cake's assessment of things, even if it were only at a joke level. And I quote, Cake, Jesus H. Christ, I fucked Johnny's daughter. Stu can't help laughing. I mean, he smelled his own daughter's pussy on me. He even knew it was Italian. Wow. This comes after a previous conversation where Cake tells Johnny he had been with a woman the night before who rocked his world. And was she Italian, asks Johnny. Why do you ask, says Cake. Because you smell Italian, says Johnny. Are you kidding me, asks Cake. I was right. She's Italian, says Johnny. End of teaser. Unbelievable. You know, the writers actually believe a character, forget cultural background for now, is capable of smelling his daughter's pussy on men, even unconsciously. Or that a character, Cake, could make such a comment or joke about another character, Johnny, without explaining or showing, in short, knowing why specifically. Unbelievable. Amazing. You know, by Stephen King's logic, the writers are talking from experience or knowledge of some kind. Presumably, they know what an English-Canadian pussy smells like and have transferred this phenomenal skill, this extremely high sense of smell, to a character they penned who just so happens to be Italian. Poor Johnny, you know, stuck with a talent he didn't want. What a fucking nightmare. But the writers never gave Johnny a voice that could express his nightmare. They kept him on a leash. We'd have to wait for the next Pirandello for Johnny to be given a voice. His voice, one that might turn against the writer and director and even the actor playing him. But in fairness to the writers, you know, they were just doing what most writers do, write what they know, pretending it comes from someplace else. But God, you know, with that kind of talent, with those kind of smell receptors, their skills could be put to much better use working for any city's police force or airport on a fucking leash. And people actually wonder why Canadian drama smells like Canadian drama. Dogs are writing the fucking scripts. Our writers leave with the geese, but apparently never come back, so our criminals are running loose, and the dogs trained to catch them, bite them, and eat them are writing our scripts. I mean, dogs can outsmell humans by times 25, can detect 1 drop of blood in 5 quarts of water, yet these fucking dogs can't inject 1 drop of their own blood into 100 pages of script. I mean, why does Cake have this view of Johnny, even at a joke level? Why does the reader get the funny feeling that Cake would not be able to smell his daughter's pussy, or at least that of his people, on a man, even at a joke level? Can we take cultural background out of the equation where the writer's opinions and perceptions of Johnny's character are concerned? I mean, would Cake or the writers have made those comments about Johnny if Johnny were, say, Croatian? Would Cake have even made such a joke about Johnny in the off chance he meant it as a joke if Johnny were not Italian? Would Johnny have made the comment about smelling an Italian woman on Cake if Johnny were not Italian? And what about Cake's character? I mean, why Cake as a name? What is it about Cake's character that makes him wear and accept that name, knowing what it means to Italo-Canadians who baptized all Anglophones with that stupid moniker when they first came to Toronto? I mean, what is the psychology for Cake embracing it? Do the writers think that with a couple of offensive comments that French and Italian women are the same thing or close enough, and that an Italian father can smell his daughter's pussy on a man, Cake will resonate, you know, as a genuine semi-retard, chauvinist, pig, racist asshole, who ultimately is redeemed by his Cary Grant exterior that says, hey, deep down, he can still be trusted because, hey, he's as good for you, and dependable as wholesome bread. Cake's comments have no dramatic consequence, so they appear contrived, convenient, and irrelevant. The writer is simply trying to sound edgy in a cute, inoffensive, offensive way, which makes Cake neither cute nor edgy, which is why what he says is offensive. Cause and effect cannot be ignored in drama or comedy. Those lines are offensive not because of what they say. If anchored in a specific human reality, the lines would resonate and we, the reader, would be able to detect that or maybe understand why that particular character, Cake, talks and behaves that way. If that is made clear in the DNA of the character in writing, Cake can even make more offensive comments and they would not be as offensive. You know, a joke, you might know this joke, made its way around Montreal for a while that reflected a common perception among allophone men at a joke level. The joke was real. In other words, the fact that the joke was told and retold often was real. What it said, however, the joke attempts to compliment French-Canadian women as sex partners at the expense of English women. It's actually a put-down of English women, period. Here it is. Cop arrives, looks at a woman's naked, dead body, looks at the man. He's naked too, but alive. And the cop says, "Hey, didn't you know she was dead, man?" "No, man, I thought she was English." All right, say we're writing a script and put this joke in a character's mouth. Have I suddenly created a character with the joke or justified why the character would say such a thing? You know, an international ghost, a very intelligent, kind friend and supporter, even suggested I should be smart, raise my level of sophistication by allowing for the metaphoric use of the phrase, "He smelled his daughter's pussy on me. He even knew it was Italian." Allow for the author's artistic license, Tony. Give the writer the benefit of the doubt. Consider this so people don't think you're being too literal about the whole thing and missing the finer, subtle strokes of metaphor. I agree. I will consider it. There. Now let's move on. I mean, what is this idea that whatever we create should be something cleverly crafted and concocted in a conspiracy room to be presented to the throng in order to make a good impression? That international ghost, by the way, in Toronto is Italian. And La Bella Figura is a cross we all have to bear. I mean, what's wrong with constantly revealing the mechanism that created this reaction to Johnny and his astonishing dogs? So let me try this, Sarah. I will improvise a Johnny-type character response right here and now as a message to Manson and Bolton, the writers, keeping in mind that cause and effect cannot be ignored in drama or comedy. You know, the little improvisation is also a reminder that Manson and Bolton can afford to get even more offensive as long as they're being true. If they're being true, it will ring true. By true, I don't mean that what a character says is factually true. It can be 100% false. But it will be true if the character believes it's true at its core and if we have an understanding of or are exposed to that core. And as long as that core, however horrible, is steeped in real human experience, and as long as a human experience is not limited to a culture, but reflects Shakespeare's directive to all writers through Shylock, hath not a Jew eyes, hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions. And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. So the villainy you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Here's the improvisation with a warning, Sarah. It's strictly prohibited to use the monologue or any part of it, including all other original material in this letter in the TV series. Thank you. Scene. Okay. Johnny finds out what Cake said about his daughter's smell and pussy and confronts the writers through the character Cake. Johnny, you know, Cake, you're one fucking sick fuck and it's going to get you killed. I don't even have to see you to know you're coming. It's the smell, not the one coming out of your asshole, but the one coming out of your mouth. All that fucking chick traffic jammed up your ass, up your fucking bowels, all the way to your fucking throat, your nose, and your fucking brain. That's what I fucking smell, Cake. And it's all over your work. And one day it's going to choke you, and if it doesn't, I'll make sure it does by corking with a fucking plunger. But I'll make sure to shit in it first so you won't know whose shit you're choking on. That'll be your nightmare, Cake, as you make room for more deserving beings to walk the earth you infect with your SARS, you fuck. To call you a pig, I insult the animal. To call you anything, I insult the thing. You're worse than a fucking animal, not even a thing. Even disease is too good a name for you, and you actually know it. You're just hoping others won't and will mistake it for fucking brains and balls, but you got no balls! You pasty piece of white doughy shit. But no one's there to tell you that, Cake, because you surround yourself with sick fucks like you who can't smell your shit because it's too close to their own. You actually thought I could fucking smell my daughter's pussy on you? It was your fucking shit I smelled on her, you virus fuck. That's how I knew. I knew she had to have been close to your ass or your mouth to smell that way. With most people, that geography and distance would make a difference. With you, your face is as good as your ass. In fact, I can't tell them apart. And the expression's about the same. In fact, I think your mouth's tighter than your fucking ass. Just a feeling. And the other feeling I'm getting is that you've been taking it up the ass too many fucking times to explain the excess fudge packing you can't seem to dislodge and why it's coming out of the top end of your being. And the other feeling I'm getting, Cake, you got some fucking pedophilia going on that you better fucking explore, deal with, and confess right this fucking minute. It's not you I hate, Cake. It's your mother who sleepwalked her way through a fuck to give birth to a piece of shit like you. I'm all for saving a life, but in your case, I would kill your mother for not having killed you, not at birth, in utero. When she could have miscarried you like a regular bowel movement and flushed you all the way to Lake Ontario, you fuck. It's not that you slept with my daughter that really burns my ass and heart, that too, but it's that you see it as fucking instead of love-making, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. And that you think I know what her pussy smells like. You sick, degenerate fuck. And if you don't get the fuck out of here right now, Cake, I'll make sure you wish fucking Hitler were back to make a little side table lampshade with your foreskin, because it's a lot better than what I'm gonna do with your dick. The Grinch had garlic in his soul. You got pus in yours. You ever see a bull mastiff up close or a pit bull, Cake, face to face? No? You ever see one? It'll be even more difficult with your dick in its mouth. Okay, Sarah, you write that kind of dialogue for Johnny as a response to Cake? I would believe it, no problem. I mean, if I take Johnny's profound love for his daughter into account, which is in the script, Cake, hey, what do you love, Johnny? Johnny, I love my daughter. I used to love Grandpa. If I take into consideration how offended he feels by Cake, that he's been in rehab, which suggests a tormented history of some kind, his hatred for people's ignorance and bigotry, seeing that he's an immigrant or son of immigrants, and looking at the language and the tenor the writer is trying to use for the whole story, yeah, I can see Johnny responding this way, no problem, where his dark side, his racism, his anger and rage comes out in the process, no problem. Johnny has to find out what Cake said about his daughter and deal with it. And Cake must deal with the consequences of his comments, even if he chooses to defend them, if that were at all the writer's intention. Otherwise, the writer is simply hiding, running away from what makes drama and conflict, and trying to get away with saying things for mock shock value, which is why they're offensive. Cause and effect cannot be ignored in drama or comedy, period. And the improvised response I've given Johnny is lightweight, bantam league by real-life standards. Trust me, Sarah. Based on what Cake says, the above is the least and descriptive, the least offensive thing a real-life character like Johnny would say. Some real-life Johnnies would even slap me around, accusing me of caking up my response like Pillsbury dough. And what about the daughter, Francesca? You know, I'm sure I speak for all the women characters when I say her town should have been struck by a tornado, or she could have followed Dorothy to Oz to get a brain, a heart, and some courage, things the writers did not believe she deserved. Characters, Sarah, must be first and foremost real and human, even in comedy, even ones we might find distasteful and disgusting, even in our winters of our discontent and inglorious summers by these sons of York, even in the distant possibility that a father hacked his 5-year-old daughter to pieces and threw the bone like a butcher hacking meat for being disobedient, even if a father dangled his 5-year-old girl from an overpass and dropped her head first onto the highway, even with God-fearing people gunning down other God-fearing people during Mass like bowling pins, even when overexhausted and depressed mothers kill their 2-year-olds, husbands, and themselves in a bloody explosion of desperation and hopelessness, even with the abduction of small, innocent, precious girls through bedroom windows, first raped and then killed, even with children beaten by their grandmothers, forced to live on their own piss and shit and die, even with these misshapen, deformed, and unfinished villains the dogs should never bark at, but chew alive, even with these over-the-top characters and imaginary crimes, these unrealities that would even shame the Thame of Glamis and his Lady M, even then, the character should always be real. What he, she does can be whatever you want it to be and as outrageous and offensive as you want it to be. If we can believe the humanity of the character, we can believe almost anything he, she does. And if Italo-Canadians, like those attending a recent fundraising gala in Woodbridge, and Toronto politicians, high-powered lawyers, lobbyists, journalists, Supreme Court judge, all Italians, if they saw the TV series as written, you can be sure of attracting the sort of publicity that might initially benefit your pocketbook and ratings as people tune in just once to see what all the fuss is about, but certainly not your peace of mind. I mean, I'm joking, actually. They couldn't care less. The halls of Queen's Park, the mansions of Rosedale, and the cabinet rooms of Parliament Hill hustle and bustle with drive-by shooting, comments and digs, mafia this, mob that, all trying to best the Canadian press, beacon and symbol of this very tolerant, very multicultural nation. And the Italian community takes it like a man, proudly Italian, fiercely Canadian, and essentially afraid. So don't worry, Sarah. Manson and Bolton can rest easy and pen more tales from the grave. Norman Douglas would be proud. I mean, Norman Douglas may be dead, but where he wrote from is still living. And though he's older and deader than the old Calabria he wrote about, the new breed sticks with the old habits. It will be an honor to consider a role that stretches a character's possibility, and mine as an actor, where the bar is set at a height no actor might ever come close to touching, let alone fly above it. We certainly have the writers. That I'm being asked to even consider the role of Johnny is not an insult to whatever talent I may have as an actor, which is modest, or an insult to my intelligence, also very modest, but more importantly, to my cultural background, insanely rich, way richer than Manson and Bolton can ever imagine or pen, and as is our home and native land. And the different people I meet in different corners, in different rooms, in different Canadas. No money, however great, would entice me to be a part of such a vomit-infested zoological minstrel show. I had rather be a dog and bathe the moon than such a Roman. Because there is a tide in the affairs of men which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. And since no money is the only money you offer, what I ask is artistically gratifying in playing such a role. If the writers or producers think this is the overreaction of a too sensitive, tribal, Italo-Canadian, there are a dozen or so books on dramaturgy that would dispel that notion in a second. And if you or the others did not expect this response, you have absolutely no idea of the work I do or have done, which is fine, you know. That's why I have an agent, to fill in the blanks. I mean, the writers are rarely going to get this kind of response from an actor, trust me. And they should be happy they're getting it at the price they're getting it, for free. Oftentimes, producers will pay good money for this sort of feedback. And why would most actors bother anyway? I mean, I could have simply said, no thanks, no, in that beautifully indifferent Canadian way that has become the hallmark of our mutual disrespect for human dialogue and debate. And that probably would have been just as well for you, the producers and creators. I'm not saying that is for certain, but probably. But it's not okay with me, It's not enough. It's not who I am. I am what I am. To thine own self be true rings false on stage or film if not practiced or attempted in life. Some actors, like the ones who agreed to do Omerta, will accept work no matter what, might fear retribution for voicing their view, or might simply become timid in what is at times the inhospitable climate of our industry. But that climate is not outside of us. It is a part of us. Part of the same program and matrix. The person driving a car is the hole in the ozone layer. It's one and the same thing. I keep telling my Italo-Canadian thespian friends, especially the one guy who jokingly says Judas when he means Jew, the one who feels typecast as a wop, and then he walks into a room full of writers, directors, and producers, and yeses his way through every offensive bit of action and dialogue in the script, gets the job, and walks on the set like The Scream by Edvard Munch, acts as Italian asshoff, while searching in his mind for a tree to hang himself. Or that other Italo-Canadian actor, Hey, wow, what? Good, what? The thing, the film. What film? The one you're doing, Tony. Oh, that film. Yeah, great. What? What do you mean, what? I mean, what's good about it? That you're doing it. Why? Well, it's work, and that's good. Well, it's great, Tony. You don't like it? Did you read it? Oh, I know it's shit, Tony. Then what's great? Oh, no, I know. I mean, it needs work. Well, that's why I'm happy you're doing it, Tony. Did you meet them? Oh, yeah, Tony, very nice. Had a great chat with them. They didn't rush me out of there or anything, Did you tell them? Oh, no, I couldn't, Tony. I thought, let me try to understand what they're doing. Did you? Honestly, Tony, I think they're confused. What did they tell you? Well, they said, it's not going to work. You're having a hard time with the section. I did it over and over again, Tony, but, I couldn't get it, Tony. It didn't feel right. Something was missing, Tony. The writing, it didn't feel, I don't know, Tony, real. Apparently no one was nailing that section. Well, did you tell them it might be the script? Oh, no, I couldn't do that, Tony. Hey, Tony, I'm not in your position. No. I just left, and then I said, okay, well, fine, cool, fuck you, I see. Do you have any kids? Hey, Tony, I got a 24-year-old daughter, and you can look her in the face? Oh, no. Hey, I know what you mean, Tony. Now, was it easy for your father to come here? Hey, Tony, I'm with you, man. Sometimes I look at what they did, and we're nothing, Tony. I mean, we don't have that, those balls, Tony. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? Those, is he alive? Alive, Tony. 89, my father. The guy's got more energy in life than you and me put together. Can you look him in the face? Hey, Tony, there's my streetcar. I got to go. Hey, look, Tony, have a great shoot, okay? Hey, Tony, I'm sorry. I just got to go. And as he streetcarred to his next appointment, I stood like a wax fixture on the sidewalk in the center of no man's land, Queen East and Power Street, and hurled silent curses at him, the ones that are second nature to me, the ones that I and most Italo-Canadians have heard and been raised on from infancy. May you be struck by a fucking paralysis. May a cancer take hold of you. May they fucking burn you alive. May they fry your entrails. Fuck. Another Roman moment, right in front of St. Paul's, that Renaissance-style church, that first Roman Catholic parish in Upper Canada, that minor basilica patterned on the major one in Rome, the one outside the walls, right in the heart of Corktown, home to the Irish and many immigrants from every part of the world who came to Canada to sweat a home. A dot in a sea of orange, home to other cliches, the Irish cop, the Irish drunk, the black Irish. And then a tapping on my shoulder. I didn't turn around, I knew who it was. The Irish voices from a stone monument directly behind me, asking me if I was taking in the irony and enjoying it. And I could feel those Irish voices, jostling for just one chance to break out of that stone like Michelangelo's prisoners, half-finished lives, wanting to fucking chase that streetcar and that son of a bitch on it, wanting to know why he was wasting his life when they sacrificed theirs to pave the way. And with the streetcar still in view, I could see him sitting with his back to me, inside that streetcar with some great book on his lap, some self-help manual, making sure no one could read the cover, the Bible, the way of the actor, the power of positive thinking, or the power of now, anything to make him feel shittier about himself, anything that tortured his soul with the refrain, God helps those who help themselves. Oh man, why the fuck did I have to bump into that nightmare Tony, he says to himself, channeling his anger all the way back to Shakespeare, where he appropriately casts himself as Cassius and tells me, most noble brother Tony, you have done me wrong. Judge me, you gods. Wrong I mine enemies, and if not so, how should I wrong a brother? Tony, you know that you are Brutus that speak this, or by the gods, this speech were else your last. No, the name of Cassius honors this corruption. Corruption! Tony, a friend should bear his friend's infirmities, but Brutus makes mine greater than they are. No, I do not, until you practice them on me. You love me not. No, I do not like your faults. A friendly eye could never see such faults. A flatterer's would not, though they do appear as huge as high Olympus. Oh, ye gods, Tony, must I endure all this? Aye, all this and more. Remember March, the Ides of March, remember. Did not great Julius our father bleed for justice' sake? What villain touched his body that did stab and not for justice? What? Shall we now contaminate our fingers with base bribes? Brutus, Tony, pay not me. I'm a soldier, Tony. I will not endure it. To hedge me in, I am a soldier. Urge me no more. I shall forget myself, Tony, and mind upon your health. Tempt me no further, Tony. Do not presume too much upon my love. I may do that. I shall be sorry for. No! You have done that. You should be sorry for, you son of a bitch. There is no terror in your threats, for I am armed so strong in honesty that they pass by me as the fucking idle wind, which I respect not. I was not born to die on your sword, Tony. Oh, if thou wert the noblest of thy strain, young man, thou couldst not die more honorable. And then I said, shit, I felt such shame for even thinking that last line, I mean, no one is that honorable, certainly not me. And I could feel his curses from inside that streetcar, one by one, the ones he had no choice but to hurl back at me. It's in our culture. And I felt for him. Fucking idiot. But I wasn't done with him dramaturgically. And so I traveled my mind and went to a cemetery one night, his preferred way home now, avoiding streets and streetcars altogether and avoiding me, believing that the odorless stench of death in Yorick's skull with worms in it and that treading on the unsettled nerves of the beyond would make him a better actor, a deeper one. My intent was to inflict pain, physical and mental, so the words of Fred Friendly could resurrect. I didn't want to convince this actor of anything. I only wanted to make him think so fucking painful that thinking would be his only way out. I thought of all those goddamn actors throughout history hung, lynched, shot, quartered, drowned, guilty only of trying to make a difference, who in their last moments would certainly have wanted to go fast. No! So I took my time with this son of a bitch. This one was just taking up space, coasting through it, an object, the one who kept the goateed ghost well fed. Didn't he, this male, this exclusive bear of culture, deserve worse than all those other actors in history? And so I beckoned the ghost once again, the ones who perfected the art of torture from year one. I was not in Rome, but hey, a Colosseum could be built anywhere. I just needed the lions. And so I went with my guts and instincts. I invoked all the Hannibals and cannibals of history to speak their art through me. And like any actor in any role, I immediately felt a sudden surge of power. The exhilarating, destructive force of all humankind took over me. I imagined the worst fucking thing one could do to one and times it by 100, 1,000, and 1,000,000. And after I let him dig his own grave, literally, and asked him to lie in it, and he did, pointing a gun to his head, asking him if he felt like delivering one last monologue, his best performance to date. I told him to remember it wasn't him I was killing, but the him in all of us. And I pulled the trigger, an intentional blank that hit the target. He shat himself all over the place. and squiggle like an eel at the touch of a knife, like a hanging goat releasing its bowels for the last time, cursing his mother for his fate and my mother for my malice. The devil in me satisfied, my thought crime committed, I Gaelic goodbyed my Irish monument lads, and I vanished. Who wins in this lose-lose battle of today? Papa? The next generation up already, Sarah, and it's only midnight. I gotta go. Papa, what is it, sweetie? Papa, yes, sweetie. I want to read a book with you. Are you kidding me? Are you cognizant? Am I what-nisant? Which one, sweetie? This one, Papa, my anatomy book. Oh, I love that one. Papa, yes, sweetie. Do you have a brain? Yes, sweetie. Papa, yes, sweetie. Do you have a heartbeat? Yes, sweetie. Oh, do I have a heartbeat? Yes, sweetie. Why? Why what? Well, why do we have a heartbeat? Why do the valves open and close, Papa? Why do we have a brain to think, right? Think. That's right, sweetie. That's exactly what Pooh says. Papa? Yes, sweetie. Why does the Grinch have a small heart? Well, it's not really small, he thinks it is. And why does it get so big? Well, because that's how much love it contains. I kissed him goodnight for the second time, Sarah. My feet got cold. I put my hand in the dresser drawer. I pulled out a pair of socks, unwrapped it, and realized they were my son's and that they were too big for my feet. I'm back, Sarah, from my head. That conversation with my son took place 6 months ago. Not now, when he wasn't even 2.5. I just thought that with all my chatting, all those busy bees buzzing in my brain, I'd woken him up. But he's wise, and he knows that I need to think. And I'm thinking about that actor on that streetcar and the many like him and us. No one to bounce with, Rue boy, said Tigger. When an actor screwed up a line twice, Frank Capra would turn to the writer. He'd say, hey, something's wrong with the line, change it. If an actor asks, why am I being asked to play this part? The writer's question is even more complicated. Why am I writing it and then asking someone to play it? If the writers and producers wish to touch those who watch the series, they need to know how those who read it see it, and if they are touched by it or not, and if not, why not? I don't possess any special talent for detecting offensive to Italo-Canadians material. I don't have some magical power to see things others can't. I can see, like most people, that which rings true from the writer. Not everyone voices it, that's all. But when it's in there, we all see it and feel it, and future generations will as well. We're like the little boy in The Sixth Sense who can see a lot more than we're willing to admit to others and to ourselves. 1946, think of it. Capra went out on a limb in a New York Times article and slammed the major studios' assembly line system. He said films are being funneled through the tastes of a half-dozen studio heads. Filmmakers are getting their ideas not from life, but from each other's pictures, creating within walls of mirrors. 60 years! And here we are. Breaking the pattern of sameness is still an issue. Trying to imitate TV. But if we don't break the pattern, future generations will have nothing to feast on. We must rethink our thinking so everyone wins, even tomorrow. Tiger Woods, #1 golfer in the world, keeps searching for the perfect swing, forever saying he's not there yet. We take cheap swings with our films and TV while maintaining it's as perfect as it's going to get, and that we should feel blessed to be asked to be a part of it. And with fingers crossed, we're supposed to whisper, let's just hope now the network approves me. Perhaps Manson and Bolton's character, Looch, says it best. Hey, he doesn't get that right. Somebody's got to tell him. Well, I told him, Sarah. And that pretty well sums it up. To think that my agent was worried I may be too young for the role. Happy New Year to you and yours, Sarah. And whether we shall meet again, I know not. Therefore, our everlasting farewell take forever and forever. Farewell, Sarah. If we do meet again, why, we shall smile. If not, why then, this parting was well made. Get some sleep, Sarah. And when you wake up tomorrow, cultivate your garden. This is the best of all possible worlds. Sincerely. How are you going to end this, Tony? The wise man ghost. The letter is finished. No, what about the native thing, Tony? Just a question. Where do you see that? Because, you start with the native thing. Why is the native consciousness not part of the play? No, this is not a play. Well, because there's power right there, Tony. Maybe that's how you should end it. Is that how you think I should end it? No, I know you'll be angry at me or hit me or something. This is good, Tony. Okay, that's what I'm here for, okay? I can dish it out so I can take it, you bastard. No, this is good. Go. All right, I'll finish it with this. This, what this? Yeah, this. You asking me these questions. Oh, you set me up and you knocked me down, you bastard. I hate it. Okay, Tony, add that, Tony, and that will do. And that's the beauty of it, Tony. I just needed something, okay? It's Wewenka. No, I mean Wendigo, Tony. I mean Wendigo. The natives call it Wendigo. You know, that's what you're doing. Well, maybe it is Wewenka. Where did Wewenka come from? No, Wendigo, Tony. Opposites, you know, doing everything backwards as a spiritual discipline. I don't know how accurate my definition is, Tony, but I think it's pretty good. All right, I use that. You know, but I like the word Wewenka better. Hey, Tony, I'm happy because I become immortalized. You know, that's how low my self-esteem is, okay? I mean, Tony, I'm very quotable, okay? I have a blind spot. I can't hear my own good lines, Tony. Go ahead. Wait, Tony. Okay, now I know you're really going to hit me, Tony. Okay, who is the character? Well, me. No, beside you, Tony. Is that going to be clear? I mean, I need more context. I mean, here's the question. Why should I care? What's driving you to tell the story? I need to feel it. Okay, I want to feel it. Come on, Tony. Okay. All right, Gorky. Gorky? Yeah, Gorky. Oh, you mean the government inspector Gorky? No, that's Gogol. Oh, right, you mean Gorky. Yeah, I said Gorky. Oh, you Gorky? Yeah, I thought that Gorky was the only Gorky. Yeah, him, Gorky. Apparently, Gorky, you know, he toured one of the first Soviet concentration camps. And in preparation for his visit, the guards spruced up the joint, you know, tablecloths, flowers, you name it, newspapers for the prisoners, Club Med. But Gorky wasn't allowed to talk to the prisoners. They weren't allowed to talk to him. And as he went by, a few of them decided to read the newspaper upside down as a kind of an international distress signal. Something is wrong, Gorky. Don't be fooled by what you see. Hoping that he would notice and that an investigation of their reality might save their lives. But Gorky didn't notice and wrote a positive report on the treatment of prisoners. That report apparently protected and fed a rotten system that eventually saw more people killed than in Hitler's death camps. I mean, sometimes, you know, distress signals are so small. They can be easily missed. But when you love something, you have to point out things that are going wrong. Well, what's the solution, Tony? Well, that's the problem. What? Your question. Thank you.
Reggi Lardin, lui va la guerra, tirar di spada, lui va la guerra, tirar di spada. O quan le stai, mita la strada, Reggi Lardin le restai ferito, Reggi Lardin le restai ferito. Reggi Lardin ritorna indietro, dalla sua mamma vuoi andare a morire, dalla sua mamma vuoi andare a morire. O tum tum tum, picca alla porta, oh mamma mia che mi son morto, oh mamma mia che mi son morto. Oh pica pian, caro il mio figlio, che la to dona gampi col fante, che la to dona gampi col fante. Oh Madonna, la mia Madonna, cosa vuol dire chi cantan tanto? Cosa vuol dire chi cantan tanto? Oh Nuretta, la mia Nuretta, che fa un'allegria ai soldati, che fa un'allegria ai soldati. Oh Madonna, la mia Madonna, disem che moda ho da vestirmi, disem che moda ho da vestirmi. Vestiti di rosso, vestiti di nero, che le brunette stanno più bene, che le brunette stanno più bene. O quando le stai in luz della chiesa, d'un cirighello si l'ha incontrato, buondì buongiuro vuoi vedovella. Oh no 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 che non son vedovella, quel fantincuna il marito in guerra, quel fantincuna il marito in guerra. Oh sì 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 che voi sei vedovella, vostro marile tridi che il fa terra, vostro marile tridi che il fa terra. O terra, apriti in quattro, voglio vedere il mio cuore reale, voglio vedere il mio cuore reale. La tua bocca la sa di rose, invece la mia la sa di terra, invece la mia la sa di terra.